My house used to be the gathering place for the kids who wanted to play war in the woods across the street from where we lived. I had this big barrel full of guns, and any kid that came over unarmed could get a gun out of the barrel. Then we'd go over the woods and mow each other down over, and I got you! Yes, I did! You're dead! Then after our little wars, we'd gather at my house like silver-haired legionnaires. We'd drink Cokes out of those thick green bottles. And we were doing that in the living room when my dog, my English Bulldog Sarge, walked in and cut a wicked fart. And of course we all cracked up. And we laughed and laughed, and then most of us stopped, but Lanny just kept laughing and laughing until he got kind of hysterical, and then he threw up on my parents' new rug. So I ran and got a bucket, and my mother was coming into the living room. Lanny was running to the bathroom. I said, Mom, don't worry, I'll clean it up. I'll clean everything up. You won't even know anything happened. I'll clean it up. Lanny looked really pale, and he put on his jacket, and Ronnie walked him home. But he never came back to my house again. I guess he was too embarrassed. Years and years later, I was living in Berkeley in a tree house in the hills behind the Claremont Hotel. And my mother sent me a letter. In the letter was a newspaper clipping from the local paper. And Lanny had been killed in Vietnam. He was a medic. And I think he was trying to save somebody else's life when he died. So I stayed in, actually I wrote a poem for him the next day. I called him my laughing soul brother. And I read it in some of the open readings in the Bay Area. 3 years later, I came back to New Jersey, and I lived in Camden in a house on Penn Street. And my grandmother and mother passed away in 79 and 80. So I started going out to Locust Wood Cemetery more in Cherry Hill. And one day I was out there. It was around Veterans Day, and there was a flag not far away from where my grandmother was buried. And I went over to the flag to straighten it. And I noticed the name on the grave. It was covered with some leaves, but part of it was visible. And I brushed the leaves away and the twigs and the dirt. It said, Francis Lawrence Russell, December 26, 1943, October 25th, 1968. And they don't put nicknames on graves. So they didn't have the name Lanny on the grave. He was born December 26, and his birthday was always eclipsed by Jesus. And I thought now, is that the bell? I thought now that he and Jesus could celebrate together. And I took my wet handkerchief and I got down and I cleaned that grave off as perfectly as I could. And then I said, everything's okay, Mama. Everything's cleaned up now. Everything's cleaned up. And Lanny's Lanny's gone home. Thank you.